I'm Betty Falcon-Lang, but I started life as Betty Tripp and then became Betty Ellis. Myself, as a one-year-old child maybe, and that was when I first came to Sleaford to be adopted by Alan and Louis Ellis of 34 King Edward Street, Sleaford. I idolised my father. I remember him cutting glass up and making me a kaleidoscope in the days when you couldn't buy things like that, but it was certainly a labour of love on his part. There I am, being taken to the photographers. I had with me my pet dog, Fido. Even in those days I was very obstinate and insisted that he was tired and made him lie down. I had a very happy childhood. I have faint memories of life before the war. Here is a photograph of my mother and Grandma Edwards walking along the promenade at Skegness. The old lady is clad in black from head to toe. I know that we didn't go to Skegness anymore once the war started, because the posters all over the country used to say, "Is your journey really necessary?" I remember the first time I went after the war, the barbed wire was still on the beach. We went up to London to stay with his cousin, and I remember playing on a bomb site, which, thinking of it now, might have been quite dangerous because you didn't know if there was still any unexploded matter there. At the age of 5, I started school on Grantham Road at the Quarrington School. I remember that we were taught to write on slates with chalk. At the age of 8 in 1943, I started at the high school. I had to go for an interview there before I started, and I wore my best Sunday school hat made of straw with flowers round it. Miss Kirk, the headmistress, made me do some writing and allocated me to Form Lower 2, even though I was a year younger in age than a lot of the pupils. I was so happy there and made so many good friends. My greatest asset as I got older was my ability to act, and I was in many school plays, which I very much enjoyed. Perhaps my ability to act has been inherited by some of my grandchildren. Arthur is very good, and so is Samuel. Arthur is also a singer. He had just been in a concert singing Old Man River. When I left the high school in 1953, I went to the Methodist Training College in Wimbledon. And that was a very, very happy 2 years. I still have many of my friends that I made there. When I left college, I started teaching in Dunstable in Bedfordshire. I must say, for the first time in my life, I was very lonely. And although I was very happy with the children, I taught English, and a little bit of art. I didn't have any strong ties there. I went home to live with my mother, and I had taught there for about a year and a half when I met my husband Stephen. He came from Oxfordshire. In 1962 we were married, and at about the same time our daughter Orietta was born. After that, I had 4 more children, and so I had a very busy life looking after them all. I have a photograph taken of all my family or almost all my family. It was actually taken by Della when we lived at East Banks. There's Stephen in the middle with his pipe in his mouth, which he always seemed to have. One side is Sue. She must be almost 18 there, I think. She looks very womanly and very beautiful. On the other side is Etty, who would then have been about 16, also looking very attractive and grown up. And here's Stephen at the front. He was very, very proud of that t-shirt he was wearing. Here's Serena, a very pretty little girl. I knitted that cardigan that she was wearing. I'm in the middle. Sitting on my knee is Howard. He's got blonde hair there. It gradually darkened as he got older. He looks very jolly and very cheeky. By the time he was 7, he loved the riverbank. He was an expert fisherman, and every night he would bring his bucket of fish and we would go and throw them back in the river and wish them well. One of our favourite walks was to go laden with sandwiches down East Banks, and we would spend all day. We would set off early on a Saturday morning and we'd walk along the river as far as Evedon Church. We used to very often sit in the church porch and have our picnic. We were very happy in that little garden, but the house really was too small for all of us. So at that time I started to think about moving into a bigger house, and we came to Grantham Road. I love gardening. The kind of gardening I prefer is perennial flowers that come up every year. I think of a lot of my flowers by the name of the people who gave them to me. I'd like to finish up by talking about the people who have made such an impression on me in my life. First of all, the parents who adopted me. A lot of the teachers at my school, they encouraged me so much. And then as I got older, of course, Stephen, my husband, who, though not openly affectionate, was a great support to me for all my time as a mother and a wife, and I miss him very much. My children have been the greatest joy of my life, and I wouldn't have been without, even though I regretted not using my education, I wouldn't be without them now for anything.